Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, think back for a minute. Picture a living room, maybe 70s, maybe 80s. What do you see on the TV? For a lot of us, I bet it's a sitcom playing on one of those big, boxy sets.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So today, that's what we're diving into, those classic comedies, the ones that really, stuck around.
And it's interesting, isn't it? It feels like more than just simple nostalgia. You might wonder why these shows still kind of grab you.
Exactly.
Even with, the sets looking a bit dated or humor that's very much of its time, maybe there's a character that feels like an old friend.
Totally. And that's our mission today, really. We've been looking into what made them tick back then and maybe why they still connect with you listening now. So what's the first thing that comes to mind for you when you think of 70s, 80s sitcoms? For me, it's that image, the family, all gathered around, maybe a bit impatiently waiting for the show to start.
Oh, absolutely. That picture of the family gathering, that's so key to their initial appeal, I think. TV was often, well, a shared ritual then.
It really was.
And these sitcoms, they gave everyone that common ground.
Right.
Like a weekly appointment for laughs. It wasn't just the show. It was the experience together.
And you can't really talk about that shared feeling without mentioning the laugh tracks, can you?
Huh? No, definitely not.
It feels a bit strange now, maybe, but back then, it was just part of the show's texture, like a built-in audience.
Yeah, it created a sort of communal feeling. And the catchphrases, they were everywhere.
Oh, totally. They jumped right out of the TV and into, everyday talk.
And what's really interesting to think about is how those elements, the laugh track, the catchphrases, they actually helped build a kind of shared cultural shorthand, These shows weren't just passive entertainment. They reflected what was going on. Sometimes they even shaped conversations. And they definitely offered comfort, familiarity, especially when society felt like it was changing fast.
Okay, so let's dig into some of the real heavy hitters. People talk about a golden age of sitcoms, and All in the Family has to be near the top of that list. That show, it just went there.
It absolutely did. All in the Family was, well, revolutionary for its time, tackling social issues so directly.
Yeah.
Things like race, gender, politics, stuff usually avoided in comedy. But Lear put it right in your living room every week.
And right at the center, Archie Bunker. Wow, what a character. He kind of became the symbol of, the old guard struggling with change, didn't he?
Definitely. Archie resonated so much, even with people who totally disagreed with him.
Yeah.
Because he voiced those anxieties, didn't he? The frustrations about how fast things were changing, especially around race and gender issues.
Right.
Even if you were arguing with the TV, his struggles felt real to a lot of people navigating that same societal shift.
Right.
The show really sparked conversations, sometimes pretty uncomfortable ones, across the country.
Then you had something like M.A., totally different feel, but just as impactful, maybe.
Oh, completely different, but equally powerful. A comedy, yeah, but set during the Korean War.
Which is already quite something.
Right. And it managed this incredible balancing act between genuine laughs and really moving, serious drama.
That blend was unique.
The genius of MH was finding humor in the absurdity of war, but without ever minimizing the human cost. It wasn't just escapism. Comedy was the way in, the way to explore really heavy themes. Loss, trauma, questioning authority, the whole point of the conflict itself.
And speaking of pushing boundaries, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, that felt huge, especially portraying a single woman focused on her career. Mary Richards was, she was kind of a revelation.
She really was. Mary wasn't just, a woman with a job. She felt like an icon for female empowerment, partly because her life wasn't solely defined by chasing marriage.
Right, she was independent.
Exactly. Navigating her work life, her personal life, pretty much on her own terms. That struck a chord with so many women who were starting to see maybe different possibilities for themselves beyond the traditional roles. It was a direct challenge to how women were usually shown on TV. And it definitely paved the way. So many female-led shows came after.
It really changed things. Okay, moving into the 80s a bit. The Cosby Show. Again, a different vibe, but also really important representation, wasn't it?
Hugely important.
Seeing an affluent, stable African-American family like that on primetime, that was pretty rare back then.
Incredibly rare. The Cosby Show carried a lot of cultural weight because it offered this positive mainstream portrayal. It was such a contrast to many of the stereotypes or limited roles you often saw.
Yeah.
It just showed a loving, successful family dealing with everyday stuff, homework, dating, family life, all done with warmth and humor. It really broadened the picture of Black life on television in a major way.
We absolutely have to mention the creative forces behind these shows. Norman Lear's name just looms so large. All in the family, obviously, but also Maude, the Jeffersons.
A true giant.
He clearly wasn't afraid to stir things up to tackle those controversial subjects.
No, Lear was a genuine visionary. His whole philosophy seemed to be that sitcoms could be more than just fluff. They could be a forum, a place for social commentary, for real dialogue.
Using humor to get there.
Exactly. Using humor to make difficult conversations maybe a bit more accessible, more engaging. That approach was revolutionary, and it absolutely shaped the genre.
And then the guys behind Mary Tyler Moore, Jamie L. Brooks, and Alan Burns, their style felt a bit different, maybe more focused on character nuances, perhaps.
Yeah, Brooks and Burns brought a different sensibility, definitely more focused on crafting these deeply human, relatable characters, and then building stories around their everyday challenges and wins. That character-driven approach, it felt very grounded. It let viewers connect on a really personal level, I think.
Okay, here's a fun fact that always gets me. You know MASH, set during the Korean War? The show ran for 11 seasons. 11. The actual Korean War lasted just over 3 years.
Isn't that incredible? It really speaks volumes, though, doesn't it? About how much those characters and the show's themes just resonated.
Way beyond the war itself.
Absolutely. It tapped into something universal. And the finale. Over 105 million people watched the MASH finale. That number is just staggering. It cements its place in TV history.
Just unbelievable. And okay, we have to talk about Fonzie Fever. Remember that? Happy Days.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't escape it.
That show somehow captured this idealized 1950s vibe, even airing in the 70s and 80s. And Fonzie, Arthur Fonzarelli, he became this huge cultural icon.
Massive.
The leather jacket, the thumbs up, the eye.
Fonzie Fever is such a perfect example of how one charismatic character with a simple catchphrase and gesture can just explode into popular culture.
He was everywhere.
Instantly recognizable. Everyone was doing the thumbs up. It just shows the power of hitting the right nerve at the right time.
So when we pull all this together, what do you think is the real root of why these shows still work? Why do they still feel relevant or at least enjoyable to watch now? Why do they make you laugh or maybe even think?
I think the core of it is their ability to tap into really basic human experiences. Emotions, relationships, navigating life.
Even within the jokes.
Exactly, even in the sitcom format. They told stories about family, about friendship, about work, about dealing with change in society. And they wrapped it all in humor, which made even the tough stuff feel, well, approachable, relatable to a huge audience.
And that element of storytelling and representation was key too, right? Seeing different kinds of people, different families, different situations on screen. Even comedically, that must have had an impact.
Oh, definitely. These shows, each in its own way, acted like a snapshot of the time. The norms, the aspirations, the anxieties.
Right.
Looking back now gives you this fascinating window. You see how much things have changed, but also, maybe surprisingly, how much certain core human things haven't changed at all. They're like entertaining cultural records in a way.
So, wrapping things up for this deep dive, it feels clear that these shows were doing way more than just delivering laughs for 30 minutes.
Much more.
They were giving insights into family, into society, into work, and just showing the power of a good story, well told, to connect with people.
That's it. They used humor brilliantly, often as a Trojan horse maybe, to explore the messy, complicated, funny business of being human, and that formula that really lasts.
So for everyone listening, maybe take a second now. What are your favorite sitcoms from that era? The 70s, the 80s? What specific shows or moments pop into your head? What feelings do they bring up?
Yeah, think about that personal connection. And maybe take it one step further. Here's something to chew on. How do you think those shows, with their humor and their portrayals, might have influenced how we see things now, like family or work or social issues on TV today? It's interesting to trace that line, isn't it? To think about the legacy of these